Welcome. We are going to discuss some vocabulary that you will need for our lessons. We're going to begin with what is a constant. A constant is simply a number. It is a fixed value. So for example, 2, -3, 1/4, or even 8.9. All of these are constants, whether they be whole numbers, integers, fractions, or decimals. These are what we have for constants. Second, we have variables. Variables are letters that represent an unknown value. We can use X, Y, A, M, any value, any letter that we want to represent an unknown amount. That is our variable. Now, a coefficient is the number that is multiplied by a variable. So for example, if I have something like 3x, my coefficient is actually the 3. 3 is multiplied by x, and so 3x is the way I read this, but my coefficient there is 3. I could also have -4y, where -4 is my coefficient. Or I can even have something like 1/2 a, where my coefficient is the 1/2. So coefficients are the numbers multiplied by the variables. Next, we have a term. A term is any constant, variable, or coefficient and variable together. So 2 is a term. Y is a term. -6x is a term. Any of these, or combination, as long as it's single, is a term. Now, we're going to learn why this is called a single term in terms of our expressions. So when we go to an expression, it is a combination of 2 or more terms that includes addition or subtraction. So for example, I could have a variable x plus a constant of 4, and this is my expression. My expression contains 2 terms, x and 4, and they are combined with addition. I could also have 2x minus 7y. This time my expression has 2 terms, 2x and 7y, but again, I'm combining them, this case, with subtraction. I could also have an expression that has more than 2 terms. So maybe I have 3x squared plus 4x plus 5. There I have an expression with 3 terms. Again, all separated by addition. Now, expressions are different from equations, and that an equation contains an equal sign, and it will equal, my expression will equal another constant, variable, or another expression. So for example, I might have 3x plus 2, that's my expression, and to turn it into an equation, I set it equal to 10. Now I have an equation because I have an equal sign and another value. I may also have something like an expression of -x plus 7 equals 2x minus 5. In this case, I have an expression on both sides of my equal sign. But because I have expressions on both with my equal sign, that is an equation. I might also have something like 8x squared minus 9 equals 13. So expressions have more than one term combined with addition or subtraction. Equations have expressions that are then followed by an equal sign and another either constant, variable, or expression. Finally, you are going to need to understand the concept of like terms and the distributive property. Like terms are terms that have the same variable raised to the same power, or they can simply be constants. So for example, my constants of 7 and -12 would be like terms. They are both constants. It does not matter that one is positive and one is negative. Another example might be 3x and 2x. They both have the variable x, and so therefore they are like terms. Also, I can have, for example, -4b and 1/3 b. Now I've again brought in my rational numbers with my fraction, my integers, but again they both have the same variable. Now it also is to the same power, so for example, if I have 5y squared, then a like term would have to be another y squared. So for example, -3y squared. That would be a like term. Same variable, but also to the same power. Finally, distributive property. Distributive property is when I multiply an expression by a term, and I'm going to use parentheses. So for example, I'm going to take my term, in this case 4, a constant, and inside the parentheses I have my expression of x plus 2. This is denoting that I would need distributive property. To do distributive property, remember we just multiply what's outside the parentheses by everything that's inside the parentheses. And so in this case, this would result in the expression of 4x plus 8. We could also have an integer on the outside. So we have -3 for our term. Our expression inside is plus 9. Again, distributive property tells me to take what's on the outside and multiply it by everything on the inside, which results in the new expression of -15x minus 27. And finally, I can have a term on the outside that includes a variable. I could have my exterior term be 2x and inside have x plus 7, in which case, again, distributive property tells me to multiply what's outside by what's inside. 2x times x would actually give me 2x squared, and then 2x times 7 would give me 14x. So distributive property is a term multiplied by an expression where the expression is in parentheses. These are the vocabulary terms that you will need for this unit.